Family drama. Two words that bring an endless amount of despair into one's body. And today we're gonna be reading stories all about that. Yay! Guys, welcome back to the most appalling, astonishing, gobsmacking series that I have created, aka Late Night Latte. That's right, I've given this series a name. Last time I asked you guys about your relationship drama, and that was already insane. And this time I asked you guys to tell me your most unhinged family drama. Reading your guys' submission this time was like a jump scare after jump scare after jump scare. I need to pay for your guys' therapy sessions, cause like what is going on in all of your lives, dude? But either way, let's not waste any time. Let's get into your stories. Okay, I don't think you guys realize how many of these stories involved aunts being insane. Like, what is in the water to make these aunts like this? And yeah, this is one of those aunt stories. So my aunt gave me all her old stuff because she's moving and doesn't want it. So I was looking through it and I found a diary, and it honestly didn't look that old. So I flipped through it. So basically, my aunt liked my mom's boyfriend when they were teens, and my aunt kissed him. My mom didn't know it was my aunt and got really sad and depressed. And my aunt did try to make her feel better, but it was her kissing her ex during that entire time. And then my mom started dating my dad. And that's when my aunt started having a crush on my dad too. But he didn't like her back and confronted her. And she pretended like she didn't know what he was talking about. Then she lied to my mom and told her that he cheated on her. But she didn't believe her. Then she said that she was pregnant and that he was the father. But the dates didn't even line up. Then on the last page, it said, "I don't regret a thing. I would relive that moment just to see my golden child sister cry." And the date she wrote that last page was last week. Then my mom found it under the table and read it and went to confront her yesterday, bro. They were yelling so loud. I should have left it, bro. Bro, my aunt threw a plate at my mom. Crying emoji, crying emoji, crying emoji. But your aunt is an actual supervillain. What the actual hell? Like, girl, not her having a whole monologue at the back of the book saying she doesn't regret a thing. Like, this is diabolical. And listen, while I was reading this, I had a conspiracy theory. That journal entry was from last week, bro. It's a fresh journal. Y'all, there is no way she didn't leave it for the author to find, bro. That was on purpose. And also, why is your aunt the one throwing the plates at your mom? It should be the other way around. Like, she's the one out here trying to ruin your mom's relationships and saying she doesn't regret it, and somehow she's the one throwing hands. All I have to ask is, what hellhole did your aunt crawl out of so we can all steer clear, bro? But yeah, that is just the first story, and I'm already losing my entire mind. Goodness gracious, dude. I think you win the award of the worst aunt ever, bro. She really deserves it, dude. The way my mom met her husband is insane. Back when she was in freshman year of high school, both her and her best friend were obsessed with the same guy called Owen. Both of them dated Owen at the same time and were fine with it until Owen said he couldn't deal with two girlfriends. So my mom and her friend decided to flip a coin to see who got to keep dating Owen. That's Owen's idea, by the way. My mom won the coin toss and got to continue dating him after freshman year all the way until they were 25. And then Owen ended up having a 3-year side relationship with her friend behind my mom's back. Bro couldn't handle having two girlfriends, aka handling two people, so he ends up cheating, aka handling two people.
But what the hell?
You tell me how that makes sense. How does that make sense? They end up divorcing because my mom cheated on Owen with her friend and he found out. This is just crazy law to have starting from freshman year. No, I'm sorry, I feel like that's just very crazy law to have in general. Like, I feel like your mom had no reason to be here other than the fact that she was getting free law from it. There was no way she didn't know that this was going to make an unhinged story someday. Like, this situation is so funny to me, bro. It's all mashed potatoes in the head, dude. There's nothing going on. But yeah, this is just one of those situations where I just gotta say, we need to break up more often, okay? Like sometimes there are some situations that are so truly dumb, you need to leave. Everyone needs to have a timeout and sit in the corner and think about what they did. So yeah, I hope your mom is in a place where nobody needs to be doing all of that. Like none of that was needed. But it definitely did make for a funny story. So I'd rate this story a 50 out of 50. You get it? 50-50 coin flip. Anyone? Anyone? Every once in a while, I'd hang out with my friends. One of them, Kyle, was always the oddball of the group. Kind of goofy, kind of weird, but not in a way that bothered me. He was just Kyle. Now here's where things get strange. For context, my aunt and uncle had split up a while back. So during Thanksgiving, when my aunt showed up pregnant, my sister Eileen and I were both caught off guard. We both started whispering to each other, trying to figure out who the father could possibly be. Then came the bombshell. My aunt finally told us the truth. It was Kyle. I didn't believe it was him at first, but when my aunt showed us a picture of him, it was actually him. I swear my stomach dropped in that moment. Kyle? My friend Kyle? The same guy who cracked dumb jokes when we played video games was now about to be my uncle? He's literally so much younger than my aunt and had gotten her pregnant. I didn't even know how to process it. The math wasn't mathin'. Suddenly, Kyle wasn't just my goofy friend anymore. He was part of the family. As wild as it sounds, they're still together to this day. But me, I can't help keeping my distance from Kyle. I mean, how do you begin to act normal around a guy who somehow turned from your buddy into your uncle? Dude, my condolences, but I also want to laugh at the same time. I am so sorry. I'm concerned. Like now every time you pull up and have a game night with the gang and you say a joke that's a little too rude, Kyle's gonna pull the, hey, be respectful when you talk to your uncle, alright kid? But after reading the story, I had to sit and process, bro. Like how did no one let you know in the process? How didn't he even let you know? So yeah, if anyone else has found themselves in this genre of life stories, my condolences. And yeah, I'm giving this story the most unwanted unk award. Also pause if you like this video, like, comment, subscribe, all of that. I love you. Okay, so this story does have a few trigger warnings. I'll put them on screen, so if that's not your thing, don't worry, you can go ahead to the next story. I just want to say how much I love your channel and your PNG Sonas so much. Your art inspires me to be silly with my own creations, and to the viewers, you should subscribe to get our girly viral. Dude, stop it, you're making me blush. Thank you so much. Okay, now for the real tea. So the story is how my biological father disappeared on my mom and then tried to kidnap me later. My mom met my dad when she was 19. She did a lot of illegal substances at the time and he was her dealer. Just a few months after meeting him, they began quote-unquote dating, even though they both were cheating left and right. But it was mostly so my mom wouldn't have to pay for said illegal substances. About a year passes and she finds out he has not one, not two, but 3 kids from another woman. This apparently didn't scare her away good enough because 6 months later, she finds out she's pregnant with me and my brother. She tells him and he claims he'll be the best dad ever, while actually never seeing his own 3 kids. Well, about 3 months before I'm born, he just poof, disappeared on her. Right before I'm due, she married a different guy who became my sibling's father, even though he was a piece of shit. Fast forward 6 years, and as far as I'm aware, the guy she's married to is my dad. But one day, when I'm playing at the park, a man pulled up and started talking to my mom, and she was visibly furious. He had asked if he could take me out to dinner and didn't realize there was 2 children, not just me. She said he has no right to do so, to which he starts sprinting to me, saying how he's my dad and I should come get ice cream with him. My mom panics and grabs my brother first, but before she can get me out of his grasp, he runs to the car and throws me in the back seat. I'm scared and he says to shut up cause we're getting ice cream. He drove us about 35 minutes out of town when the cops pull us over and arrest him for kidnapping and endangering a child. I never saw him again. Fast forward to my teens, and my mom tells me he intended to sell me to some big drug lords in Georgia to pay off a debt that he couldn't afford. When he got out of jail, he went to Georgia where he was killed by the same people. It was so shocking to hear that I honestly didn't believe her at first. But the police report showed there was a gunfight and he was the only life taken. So yeah, that's how I learned my bio dad was essentially the devil. Thank you for listening to my trauma talk. Don't do drugs, kids, please, I beg of you. Dude, after reading that story, I just had to sit and stare at the ceiling and just process. Like, dude, you poor thing. You have gone through so much, man. I am so sorry. Like, I didn't even think it was possible for the story to keep escalating more and more, but it just did. Bro, so far y'all's families are fighting to be the most demonic supervillain known to man, and it's crazy how they're all keeping up with each other, man. Like, how do you even begin to process something like this? Like, I am processing what you went through and it's not even my trauma. That was genuinely so unhinged. Like, I am so sorry to this author that you went through that, but it definitely makes one hell of a backstory, dude. Whoever meets you will never not be shocked. I'ma give you the Face in Character Development Since Day One award. You truly deserve it the most, dude. When I was 14, my dad used to always be on Duolingo to learn French. Me and my siblings used to joke about him having a French girlfriend and that he was learning French for her. He was still married to our mother, by the way. Now, we were obviously kidding, but every time we said it, he'd get a weird look on his face before denying it. So once my dad went on holiday alone for like a month, which was weird because he'd never done that before. And guess what? He went to France. When he got home, my mom noticed he had women's clothes in his suitcase that did not fit her, so they weren't a gift for her. My mom went through his phone and saw that he was actually cheating on her with a French guy. We were kidding the whole time, but it was actually true. I mean, your dad was making it so obvious at this point. He might as well have been holding a baguette over his head that had the other person's name on it. Like, you guys are psychics, bro. You guys clock that shit. Also, now I'm just curious, because how do you cheat on someone in a language that you don't even know? Because Duolingo is only teaching you so much. How are you gonna pull up to baby girl's chat and be like, Je suis en femme. Comment ça va? Ça va bien, merci. Boulangerie. Je vais à l'école. Or something like that. It's been a few years since I took French classes, so like, guys rate my French, you know? But yeah, for real though, because they're not gonna be teaching you all these like romantic sentences and everything. So he's gonna be pulling up like how I'm pulling up right now with my French. Anyway, that's an unfortunate story, but it does make for a funny one. I read this story, one baguette from the boulangerie. I hope that's how you say it. When I was 8, my cousin was considered the trouble kid. He would skip classes, pull pranks, and do things non-illegal until the year I turned 9. I was usually babysat by my aunt and she would complain loudly about something me and my sister didn't need to hear about. My aunt was complaining again, but this time on the phone was my other aunt, Ozzy. As a nosy kid, I snuck into a room my aunt was in and heard Aunt Ozzy say, I didn't expect cousin's name to be that troubled. And later I found out my cousin was addicted to gambling to the point that Aunt Ozzy had to sell their house and my dad had to buy it to help with their financial situation. Sorry if my English is bad, I'm not a native English speaker. Don't worry, your English was perfectly fine. But Jesus, dude, imagine having to sell your entire house, man. That sucks. Like, a gambling addiction is pretty serious, dude. Like, that's something even I can't clown on. But listening to that story, I felt psychological damage. The pain that aunt must have felt, bro. Like, I'm trying to understand the cousin, but like, bro, I would be in shambles, man. Like, all my hard work sold because my idiot son is out here gambling, dog. This was character development for the worse. And I still hope your cousin will somehow have a redemption arc. Fingers crossed. But yeah, I'm giving this story the Pain Award. It's pretty tragic just hearing about it, dude. Like, I can feel myself just physically cringing. So we have a cast here once again. So Jake is the grandfather, Ben is the distant relative, Kenny is the uncle, and Derek is me. Alright, buddy. So this happened a couple years ago. We have a family business that my uncle's father, Jake, started. He sells diamonds and luxury rubies and that sort of stuff. Jake hired another distant relative, Ben. who was kinda struggling, so to help him out of generosity, he let him work with him at the store. One day, Jake kinda noticed that there are a couple of missing items. He didn't seem suspicious of Ben because of how naive and innocent he looks. Of course, we did have cameras, but he didn't find anything weird or sussy of him or any of the other workers. This is where it gets crazy. I'm sure it sounds obvious that he did steal, but the crazy part is how we found out. My other uncle, Kenny, was on TikTok and he comes across some girls dancing, which is, I guess, whatever, it's TikTok, of course there's girls dancing. But they're like having some of those luxury items put on them by a guy. Ben, what the hell? So my uncle Kenny double checks the footage and sees he has been stealing these items, and in a way that the camera has a blind spot. So now that we know, my uncle Kenny invited him home without telling him that we found out what he's been up to. Ben, Kenny, and Jake are all at our house, and I hear some yelling in the living room where they're all sitting. Ben is standing while my grandfather Jake is yelling at him and showing him the video and saying, "What the hell is going on here? Explain this shit to me. Is this why I hired you? Huh?" He says nothing and just looks down at the floor. My uncle Kenny, who found this video, slaps him and asks him to speak up, which is insane. He obviously had nothing to say, so they obviously got the police involved and he got in jail for a year. And ever since then, we haven't heard from him. He did get released, but that's the last I've heard from him, ka. Bro, that was bombastic, preposterous, positively outrageous. I mean, the situation is bad, bro. Not only are you stealing from your family that wants to help you, you're out here stealing and giving it away to random women that don't even know you, bro. Listen, I don't agree with violence, but Jake and Kenny's crash out was so valid, bro. Me personally, I would have pulled out my chainsaw and dealt with it in my own way. You know, the crazy thing is, bro could have just avoided this if he just saved up, dude. He could have just saved up, used his own money to buy those necklaces and jewels or whatever it was, and then everyone would have minded their own business if he was acting thirsty on TikTok. Like, I just want to understand the urge of why some people feel the need to be financially irresponsible, bro. Like, their brains need to be put under a microscope and studied. So yeah, I bet Ben walked home with the biggest L that day, bro. Like, not only did he lose his job, he went to jail, lost the bag, didn't even get any hoes. Like, this was just a completely pointless endeavor. So yeah, I give this story the biggest L ever taken award for Ben and the most valid crash out award for Jake and Kenny. Alright guys, this story is a bit deep, so buckle in. So my mom met my dad when he was on vacation in Tunisia. They met at the beach, and my mom said it was one of those random summer days where you don't really expect anything to happen. And then suddenly, you meet someone who changes the entire direction of your life. My dad was older than her, already divorced, and he had a daughter from his first marriage, aka my half-sister, who I've never really had a relationship with, and honestly, it's complicated. But we barely talk. Anyway, my mom and dad started talking and things moved fast. I always had this feeling that something about their relationship wasn't really built on love. My dad has always been difficult. He's one of those people who has to be right about everything, who can make any conversation turn into a fight. My mom once told me that before they even got married, they had this huge argument and he broke up with her, only to come back a few weeks later like nothing happened. Sometimes I wonder if she married him because she thought it was her chance to build a new life in Germany, to get away, to start fresh. And I can't blame her for that, honestly. After they got married, she eventually moved to Germany with him, but it didn't take long before things went downhill. My dad didn't get along with her family at all. There's this ugly stigma in Tunisia about people who come from the countryside. They're seen as less educated or poor. One of my aunts apparently made a nasty comment about him once, and he completely lost it. He argued with half of my mom's family, and from that point on, things between the families were tense. My mom was caught in the middle, trying to keep the peace, but it never really worked. Their marriage just kept getting worse over time. Constant fighting, long silences, the kind of atmosphere where you feel the resentment even when no one's talking. Then, when I was about 10, we went back to Tunisia for the summer, like we always did, to stay at my grandma's place. I was bored one afternoon and I was going through some old boxes, and I found this stack of photos of my mom when she was younger. And there it was, a picture of her at what looked like an engagement party, standing next to some guy I didn't recognize. And I remember just staring at it, trying to make sense of it. When I showed it to her, she froze for a second, then quietly said, "Don't tell your father about this." I never asked too many questions after that, but I could tell from her face that it was something she didn't want to explain. Maybe something she wished that had gone differently. Sometimes I think about that photo and how much of her story I probably don't know. The older I get, the more I realize how much sacrifice and quiet pain sits behind people's choices, especially in immigrant families. Everyone's trying to build a life, to survive, to find something better, but sometimes the things they leave behind never really stay buried. Until this day, my dad doesn't know about her previous engagement. Man, that story hit hard. I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like a lot of people who come from traditional or immigrant families or whatever it is, sometimes we have this moment of like, what if our parents chose their happiness instead of worrying about society or money or their kids? I mean, it really is such a big what if, and it makes me really frustrated to think that there are so many factors that stop people from being able to live the life that truly called out to them. Like, it was pretty common for me to hear about a lot of women in the community that had to give up on their dreams and ambitions because their traditional family relied on them to have kids and build a family. And even with this story, who knows what factors this author's mom had to face to feel that she couldn't pursue that relationship anymore. And now it's just a secret that's supposed to be kept hidden. It's just a chapter in the past now. Like, imagine being on your deathbed thinking about that one love you lost because your parents didn't want you to be with them, or that you couldn't pursue your passion just because everyone told you it won't make money. But yeah, selfishly, I kinda hope that the author somehow has a talk with their mom and maybe she tries to rekindle with the past relationship and see how it goes. But I guess time will tell how that goes. But yeah, that story really did make me think. But anyways, that's actually the end of today's episode. But yeah, thank you guys once again for all your crazy stories. I'm so glad you guys liked the last episode, and I hope you guys enjoyed this one too, and I'm happy I got the chance to read all of them. But yeah, I love you guys. Bye bye!